Hello everyone, I am Laura Barkman and I am here with LB Unleash Your Creativity, and I am tonight going to be showing you some super cute cards that we have made with the Puffin Party. This particular stamp set, I did this class last Monday actually, and thought I had recorded it, and unfortunately the recording did not save for whatever reason, so that's fine. I'll re-record it, and I'm doing so so that everyone can see what we created. The participants can go back into the video and pick up any tips or anything that they need. You can see I got a little sun this weekend, which is why I haven't been able to do this sooner. I was outside helping my husband paint the outside of our house, a much larger undertaking than I had hoped it would be, and he needed some help with that. So I am just going to switch cameras so that you can look down at what the project is and walk you through these card kits. Alright, so you should now be able to see my station. I'm just going to bring the light in here a little bit without having it reflect off of the Stamparatus, which is what I have in front of me. So I'm actually going to use the Stamparatus to stamp the puffins so that we get a really nice dark coverage on them. I'm going to use a piece of the basic white, and we are just going to stamp all 3 puffins that we need tonight. Now I'm going to stamp everything once. If you're using the kit that I provided, you would have enough supplies to do each of these cards twice, so you may want to stamp your puffins 3 times. So I'm going to just, move that out of the way. I'm going to put this guy, should fit right there. And this guy, I'm actually going to change one of my cards that I've pre-done up just a little bit to give you some options here and to make sure that we use all of our little puffins because they're just so darn cute. Okay, so I now have all of the puffins on here, but I also have a birthday cake and some candles that I can stamp. And I can stamp all of this at once. So instead of having them on the blocks, you saw me remove them from the blocks. So the blocks are actually going to be put away. I have one really large block right here in the form of the panel from my Stamparatus. So now all my stamps are mounted. I know they are going to be placed on the paper exactly where I want it to be. So let me move this stamp set out of the way. I'm going to just put a stamp ink pad under there, and that I like it better this way to work because it gives me a flat surface to put this panel on. If I don't do that, then I've got a sloping surface, so I just prefer, personal preference, to work with a flat surface. So I just like putting an ink pad under there. That gives me the exact amount of rise I need to get this flat, and then I just take my ink pad, and I'm using the Memento ink in black, and I am just inking up all of my stamps, getting really nice coverage on them. The puffins are going to be the most difficult because they have all of this solid black area that I want to make sure I get a really nice coat on. So we're just going to continue to go over those until I'm happy with the coverage. Try not to get my head in the frame here as I'm looking. Okay, so that I'm happy with, I think. And what we're going to do is we're just going to flip it over onto that paper, and we are going to stamp. I'm just going to put some pressure down evenly on all of these spots, and then I'm going to lift it, and I'm going to see what it looked like. And this particular puffin, he didn't get a lot of ink off of the stamp in this part here. There's some white showing through. I'm really not happy with exactly how dark those guys are. I like a really, really crisp coverage. I'll show you the first card that we are making. It's going to be this one here, or very similar to it. And you can see I have a really nice, dark, crisp coverage, and that is, it's not the same on these guys. So the way I got this, and the whole reason I'm using the Stamparatus tonight, is because I can re-ink those puffins and give them a better coat of black. And I can just kind of re-ink up the areas that I want to concentrate on. So I'm actually, for now, I'm going to put ink on all of them, but what I'm going to make sure I press down on really well is the butt area of this guy and the wing of this guy, the wing of this guy even, and we'll see the difference within the next time that I lift this panel. Now I can do this over and over again until I'm really happy with the results that I'm getting. So that is the nice thing about a Stamparatus. It's your repositional tool. You can restamp as many times as you need, and you know you are going to get perfect alignment. See, now he's much better. Still don't like what's going on with him. So we're gonna, and again, I could get this guy with the party hat. He could be a little darker as well. So let's try it again, and we're just gonna keep going until I get the coverage that I want. I'm gonna put a little bit more on his arm. Okay, let's try that one. So with the Stamparatus and the repositioning tool, it's great for something like this where I want to make sure I get really, really good coverage on the particular image that I'm using. It's great if you are using stamps to make assembly line type cards, so you would be using them over and over, doing the same images over and over again. Okay, I'm happy with everything except his little tail. I still want more on there. But what I am going to do, let's see if I can do this without turning. Let's see if I can get this guy, because I'm going to need two of him. Should be able to fit one more right down there. I'm going to take this one off. Clean these after. Get that one off, and I'm going to I don't need them on here anymore. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to pick this guy up, and I'm going to stamp again. So I'm just putting ink on that guy's bum and putting ink all over this puffin over here. Getting some nice even coverage on him. So I'm going to need two of these. Okay. I do have to say, while I love my Stamparatus now, I was not an avid user for the last couple of years. I just didn't use him, or sorry, him, I'm talking to my puffin. I just didn't use the Stamparatus as much as I probably could have, but now that I have discovered all of its uses and functions and the time savings that it gives me, I do love it. Okay, let's see. There we go. That guy's nice and clear as well. Okay, so now I can move those magnets out of the way, and I do just want to show this to you as well in case you have a Stamparatus or are considering investing in one. It is an investment, but it is worth every penny. You need to keep these magnets away from each other. They are super strong. They will snap together, which can cause them to break. You don't want to get your fingers caught between them. I do have washi tape wrapped around one of mine, just so that if they do come together, which I will, there we go, very carefully you can see it's not easy to get them apart. This allows me, okay, so they're nicely together now, but this allows me to pull it apart. It gives me some kind of grip to pull them apart with. So you do want to keep them separate. You can either keep them separate on the front, which is what I tend to do because I do use my Stamparatus, like I said, more than I used to, or there are these nice little areas to tuck your magnets away as well. So of course Stampin' Up! Has everything, has a place for everything with the Stamparatus. So I'm going to put that aside for the moment, and I'm going to come back here to my all my little puffins, and I'm just going to ink up one more thing, and that is this little goldfish, because we will be using that and cutting this out. So here's the great news with these cards. You are going to be well practiced in the art, oh that's better, in the art of fussy cutting. Just cut another one there, then I can pick which of the little goldfish here I like the best. Stamp that off, and I will clean that up a little bit later. I'm going to close. That was, by the way, that was stamped in the pumpkin pie ink. And then I'm just going to close up my memento here because I don't want that in my workspace at the moment. Okay, so now that we have all of our puffins stamped, let me just move them out of the way so I don't get ink all over myself. Okay, those are out of the way. Now that I've got all my puffins stamped, I am going to color them, and I'm going to color my cake and candles as well. So I am using the Stampin' Blends to color these guys, and I am just going to use, what do I have out here? I have the Dark Melon, Mango Melody, and I have the Dark Calypso Coral. Nope, pardon my error. It is Dark Cajun Craze. So I am going to first color this guy, and I used the Cajun Craze on his feet here. So I'm actually going to color all of their feet in. I could turn him around if I needed to, but I'm good coloring these guys upside down. This is just a little small space, so I'm not doing any shading in here. I'm not adding any blending. It's just to get the color down so that these guys have a little bit of color on them. Not worrying about anything else at this point. Essentially, you could use a marker. You don't need to use a blend. All right, so here, again, I'm just going to color his foot in there, and I'm going to color his foot in here. You see I have a little bit of haloing. I'm not sure if you can see that in the video, but there's a little bit of haloing around his feet here. I'm not going to worry about it too much because I will be cutting him out, so it's not even going to come into play. Now, I'm going to just color the dark part on their beaks, which is this little tip here. So on this one as well. And this guy. I love these guys. They're just too cute, in my opinion. Okay, so now all of that is colored. I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to color the other part of their beak. So this little spot right in here. And I'm going to do that on all of them. Sorry for getting camera shake. I hope you're not. I think it's okay. All right, so there we go. And one more on this guy over here. And then the other thing I'm going to color in is the flame on my candles. Now, I suppose if you wanted, I haven't, but there's no rules to all of this, right? You could color in your goldfish as well. So, if you wanted. I'm not going to. I want to leave them white. And then I did take out my light gray granite, and that is just to give me a little bit of a shadow along the edge of my puffins. Just where the black and white meet. It's not, you know, in real life that would never be stark white. There would be a little bit of dirt, a little bit of shadowing on them, so I do want to recreate that. So I'm just going around this guy's back and his belly. I'll go around his head here. Same with this one, under his arms here, maybe a bit more head there, and then down here on his bottom, a little bit above the arms. I did behind his head, and then I'm going to do the same with this guy here, just down his tummy. Okay, maybe a little bit on his belly, and then back here behind his eye. Okay, so that's done. Then whoops, I just threw my pen across the room. We'll pick that up after. Then I'm going to color my party hats, and I'm going to use some dark pale papaya and some soft succulent in dark as well. Actually, no, I'm going to use evergreen. I think I've used succulent on one of my other ones. Okay, so this one's going to go evergreen on the party hat. And this one is going to go evergreen on the opposite, on the little pom-pom here, and on the polka dots. All right. Oh, and you know what? I'm going to do evergreen candles this time as well. So this candle is going to be kind of a swirl. This one is going to be completely green. And this one is going to have one green stripe over there. And then I'm going to take my pale papaya. And on this one, I'm going to color this part in here. So that's the party hat. Okay. And then I'm going to color the pom-pom here. I'm going to color this polka dots. Okay, and then I think I'm going to give the cake, we're going to do pale papaya cake. And I'm going to pull in, my favorite color is purple. So we are going to pull in some of the purple fresh freesia. Okay, so that is done. I'm going to pull in some fresh freesia. That's going to be the beautiful icing here. Oh, we have candles on here too. I forgot to color those in. What color should we do the candles? Maybe we'll do them in that Calypso Coral. No, you know what? We're going to use, okay, I've used dark fresh freesia on there, so I'm going to use some light fresh freesia for the candles. There we go. All right. And then the last thing I'm going to color here is the plate. I'm going to bring my granite gray back in, and I am just going to color the plate. Your plate could be far more fun than my gray plate if you choose. Okay. So now I've got all of my pieces stamped that I need stamped and colored. So now we are going to start fussy cutting these, and I will pull in the magic of TV here in a moment, but I thought I would maybe start by showing you some tricks that I've learned about fussy cutting along the way, and maybe, okay, we'll do this guy. So the first thing I do is cut all my pieces apart. It's far easier to cut a smaller piece, I find, of paper than cutting a really large piece like I had there. Okay, so last guy standing is this one, so this is what we will cut together. So the first thing I use are my paper snips from Stampin' Up. They're nice and sharp. They've got a really good sharp point on them. And I do, sorry, I'm trying to find the camera. I do hold them open and I move the paper within the scissors as opposed to moving my scissors around the paper. So just to give you an idea, let me get started in here. Okay, so I keep my scissors wide open and I am just going to cut around the edge, and I like to try to leave an even edge on around the image. You know, if you're die cutting, you get that nice like white border, so I do try to imitate that. But again, that's personal preference, and I will be honest, that has come after much practice. Until I was really more proficient at this, and I'm not the best fussy cutter out there by any means, but I'm certainly more proficient at it than I was, and I certainly, after I had gained that practice, I liked it much better to keep that white around, but I did until, whoops, fairly recently, cut right up to that black line, so there was no border around these guys. But that's personal preference. You have to do what you're comfortable with and what you can do, and don't be too critical of yourself. Nobody except you is going to be criticizing your cards, at least hopefully not. And if they are, then you know, maybe you drop that person to if they complain about your homemade cards, maybe they don't get your best cards anymore, if they really want to complain about something. But you know, the thought is what counts and should be appreciated. And personally, I think they are all beautiful. Okay, so we're just going to come back around here. Whoops. All right, there we go. The other thing is you should try not to hold where you have stamped because you can reactivate with the heat of your fingers. You can reactivate that ink for a period of time, and then you're going to end up with a smeared project, and that is definitely not what you want. Whoops. Okay, let me just cut this part off. I can't get my finger in there close enough. All right, so I'm going to come back up in here, and we're just going to get right around the pom-pom. I probably should have started with the pom-pom. He's tiny to finish. Okay, so there's my puffin. Now I'm going to go ahead and pause the video while I finish cutting all the rest of these pieces. So you're going to cut apart your individual candles, you're going to cut apart your birthday cake, and you're going to cut the other puffins as well. So I will be back. Okay, so I have all of my pieces cut out now. So I also have the 2 goldfish, and I've just kind of put them in place for stamping my cards because we do have a couple of things that we need to finish stamping. And then we can just start assembling. So within your packages, well, actually, maybe we'll do those. I think we'll do those as we stamp. It'll be easier. So let's take out the first package that you've got, which should have a card base in it. It should have a tag. Yours is going to be purple. Yours will look like this. This is the card that we are making. Oops, sorry. Didn't realize that was out of frame. There's the card we're going to be making. So you're going to have a purple tag. I have a green one. You are also going to have 5 sheets of in color. So these are just little pieces of cardstock. We've got the Evening Evergreen, Soft Succulent, Polished Pink, Fresh Freesia, and Pale Papaya, in addition to a circle and a piece of basic white. And I also need, I am missing a strip of little paper, but that's okay. I've got tons of those in scraps. So you should have also a piece like that. And I also know that you will have a ribbon in your package as well. And I just have to get mine. I've got a piece that's on the roll, so I didn't have that right next to my work desk. Sorry about that. So that's the ribbon that I'm going to use. Yours will be the Fresh Freesia color if you have chosen, or if you have taken my class and have the kit that I provided. So the first thing we're going to do is take out a silicone mat, and that just gives me a surface to use to glue on that isn't going to leave or isn't going to tack my paper down to. I can always lift it up if I need. I'm also going to take out my Tombow glue, and I am just going to lay out my cardstock in the center of this piece of basic white, and I am going to put my strips of paper, whoops, just in a row. And I am going from lightest to darkest, just like that. Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the top one. I wanted a little piece of grid paper. Just a moment. How do I not have any grid paper on my desk? Okay, let's do this. We're going to take the plate off of my Stamparatus, and I'm going to lift these guys up here so that through my silicone pad I can see my grid lines. And I just want to do that so that I can get at least the first one of these pieces of paper on straight, because if I don't get the first one on straight, none of them are going to go on straight, and then my whole card is going to be crooked, and I don't want that. I would like it to be straight. So we are going to put some Tombow glue just on the back of this. You don't need much, so I'm just going to put a very light thin layer on there, and I'm going to pick a line on my grid paper right about there and there, and I'm just going to glue that down just like that. Okay, So then I can come with the next one and just put some glue at the end. That one I can now just tuck up right against this, use my lines as a guide just to double check that I'm straight, but I should be straight because my first one was down straight. And then I'm just going to continue this until I get all of my strips down. Aren't these colors lovely? These are the ink colors for the 2021-2023 2-year season. I love that there are 2 greens in here, especially because these greens are kind of on the blue side and we don't have greens like this in our regular color stock. And I love this pink. I know some people have said, well, why do we have a polished pink when we had that really bright, well, in the other color family for ink colors, we have a really bright pink in there as well. So why do we need 2? But I happen to like this one better than the Magenta Madness. So I quite like this set. Okay, so there are all of those glued down, placed down. I'm going to move that bit out of the way. And now we have our striped paper. I am going to just quickly clean off my candle stamp here. So I will need to put those back on a block because we are going to use them. Oops. Okay, so I'm cleaning that off with my chamois. I have to stick to my block. All right, those are clean. And I'm going to be using them in some Versamark just to create a background on my soft succulent. So I'm just going to stamp those randomly in a pattern, very randomly. I think that needs some ink on it. There we go. But just kind of all over here in whatever kind of pattern you want. Try not to overlap them though. And that's just going to form a background for our tag. Okay. Put out of the way. That can be put out of the way. So then I'm going to finish assembling my tag here. I'm going to need some dimensionals for that. Let me get those out. There we go. I'm going to grab this guy. He is going to go just over to the edge of the circle. And he is going over to the edge because I am also going to put on the greeting. Okay, so I'm putting 2 dimensionals on his belly and 1 on his head. And he is going down on the left-hand side of this circle. Okay, I'm going to grab my Memento ink again. And I have the Happy Birthday stamp mounted on my block. I'm just going to pick up some of that ink and I'm going to stamp that down on that little piece of paper. And I'm also going to grab my snips because I do want this to be in 2 pieces. So I'm just going to cut off any excess paper here. Just like that. My snips out of the way. Okay, flip those over. I'm going to put some dimensionals on those as well. So probably, you know what, I'm actually going to put these in the center. Let's see. Best to dry mount them first and just see how they are going to fit on here. Okay, so, oh, I can trim this part off too here. I like it right close to the happy. Okay, so the happy, I'm going to put my dimensional towards the H and the A because I want that one sitting up over here. And I don't want my dimensional hanging off the back of my circle. So I need to make sure that I have pasted that down in the right spot. And the birthday, I'm going to tuck in right in there. So I'm going to put the dimensional towards the end with the B, the I, and the R. Okay, so that's going to go like that. And then the whole circle is going to get stuck down on here now. I believe on this card, let me just double check what I did. I did attach all of these layers with dimensionals. If you are planning to mail this card, I do suggest that you only have 2 layers of dimensionals. If you're hand delivering this card, then it's not an issue to have as many layers as you want. So you either need to put if you're mailing it, you either need to put the circle down flat with glue or some kind of tear tape to the tag, or you are going to need to adhere the tag flat to the card. So you decide. I'm hand delivering mine, so I will just put a couple of, well, I don't know if I'm hand delivering mine, but I'm going to put dimensionals on my circle. And I think I'm going to glue my tag straight down because I've made this card a few times now, and I just want something different. Gives me some different options, just in case I do have to mail one. Never hurts to be prepared, right? Okay, so I'm going to bring my card base, it's not the card base, but the card front back in, and I'm just going to glue him down. I'm not going to glue him using the top. I'm just going to glue him where he's covering the stripes, and I'm going to use, so that's about 1/3 of the way, the middle third, let's say, of the tag. So I'm just going to put some Tombow glue there, and I'm going to just glue that down, just like that. And while that's setting, I'm going to take my ribbon, and we just have a knot there. I try to leave, so you can see I'm almost out of this particular spool of ribbon, but I like to leave my ribbon on my spools so that I can get every last piece out of here, because I find I use less ribbon if I am tying bows, or in this case tying a knot, while it's still attached to the spool. I have much more control over how much is coming out. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to trim that up. So now I have a really nice knot. I still have enough ribbon here, probably to do a bow, so that's going to make a lovely trim on another card. I'm going to grab my glue dots and grab one of those and just stick it down right on there. Okay, so then I can, I did dimensionals on this, so I'll do dimensionals again. I only have 2 other layers. This should still be mailable if we do some more dimensionals here. I've used so many dimensionals lately, I almost ran out before my shipment came. So hopefully that comes tomorrow. It's on its way. Meant to be delivered today, but of course, in typical fashion, I got a rescheduling notice, so it's just been the way of things during COVID. All right, so now we have one card that is completely done, so we can take that and set it aside, and off we go to our next one. We have a lot of stamping done already, and this is one I'm going to adjust on the fly for you. So here is the card that we are making. And while I was making this into my class, I did kind of come up with a suggestion to how to maybe better it and continue to use all of our puffin stamps, because you'll notice the first card we did, we used the party hat puffin, and you can see on this card I've used the dancing puffin, but I haven't used this guy with his arms kind of crossed. So we're going to tuck him on this card. He can just kind of fit down here. If you have extra goldfish, you could have him hold a goldfish, so maybe he's bringing a present. I didn't do that. I just kind of think he's going to be kind of fun down in that bottom corner. Like I said, I've made these cards a couple of times now, so I am just changing up the design slightly and showing you some variation on what you can do with these. All right, so there's the puffin. I've got some of the party pattern paper. This is from our Hostess packet. One side has a bunch of color on it, and the other side is black and white. I love these papers. They are only available to our party hostesses, and they are part of the annual catalog, so they will be around, or should be around, all year. So that is a pretty fun reason to want to host your own party, which if you would like to do that, whoopsie, you can just give me a shout, whether that's on Facebook, you can message me, you can email me, however you are most comfortable with. Okay, let's just slide that over. Okay, that one's down. Then you should have this little piece, the skinny piece of pink, and that is going to go, I believe this one is Blushing Bride, and this one, no, it's the other way around. This one is Pink Petal, this one is Blushing Bride. Okay, so that's going to go down just to cover that seam. And I just glued that down with a little bit of Tombow glue. I'm going to turn this so that I can work this way. I can see it a little bit better then and not get my head in the frame. All right, so that is creating a nice seam covering there. And then this card here, I actually used some retired baker's twine. So I have run out because I had just enough to fulfill the packages. But I have this baker's twine, and I wanted to use these guys because they're kind of fun in the color. The colors that we have right now are kind of muted. You can color the white baker's twine to make your own like this, but I happen to have these spools, which made it really easy. So that's what we're doing. Now, when I did this original card, and if you're using my prepared package, what I've done is I've given you enough of the baker's twine to wrap it around, join it, and tie it. But as I was experimenting with the cards and working some things out, I realized it's actually easier if you take this baker's twine, and you'll have more than enough to do this, and you just cut it so that it will meet up. So here's where I want it to meet up. Come on, scissors. There we go. So that's cut it through. So now I've got this piece of baker's twine. I'm going to grab my take a pick tool, and I'm going to use the side with the, you can either use the spatula or, well, I'll use the spatula. Maybe I won't poke myself then. Okay, so using the spatula side, I'm going to lift off one of my glue dots. And I'm going to put that glue dot up here where it's going to be covered. Oh, it moved. Okay, it's going to go right there where it's going to be covered by the puffin. So nobody is going to know that I am using this glue dot as an anchor for the ends of my baker's twine that has come around the inside of my card. So now those two are right there. Okay, I'm going to tie a bow with what I have left here, which is a huge spool. But like I said, you can use whatever baker's twine you have. I liked this option because it's a little thicker, and I like the colors that we had at this point in time. And right now we only have some muted colors, and while I could color the white, this was, I'll be honest, it was far quicker and easier, so sometimes it's okay to bring some retired product in. And this is where you can see I can adjust, and by adjusting this bow down, I'm actually keeping more ribbon on my roll, but I didn't like the way that's turned out. I need to retie it. And this is me just being ultra fussy. Okay. So that actually was a shorter string there, so I'm happy with that. That's saving some of my twine, and this one is not, this bow isn't twisting like the other one was. It was starting to twist some of the twine as I was feeding the bunny rabbit ears through to get the kind of look that I want. Okay, so now I'm just going to cut these down using my ribbon scissors because those are really nice and sharp. So now I have a little bow, and that little bow can be attached to my card using a glue dot. And it can go wherever I want it to, and I'm going to put it down here to imitate where it was up here. Now, if you couldn't see that, you would never know that that bow was separate from the entire piece of baker's twine. So now it's just a matter of stamping our happy birthday, and our happy birthday goes on the other piece of pink that was in your kit. So we're going to stamp that with, whoops, that's my glue. We're going to stamp that with this happy birthday. And if you wanted, you could certainly, you know, have some fun, take the greeting, you could emboss it on this paper, you could stamp it in a different color if you wanted. You could do all kinds of fun things to make this card your own. And I invite you definitely to do that. All right, so those two, I'm just gonna put those pieces aside, but now we have our happy birthday pieces. We have our puffin, we have our other puffin, and we have the 3 candles that are all going onto this particular card. So I attached all of this with dimensionals, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to use probably 3 dimensionals for the puffin. I'm going to put 1 on his head. Now I am going to be careful that my, what are these called? My dimensionals have a channel so that my baker's twine can lay nice and flat. So I'm going to put 1 on his little wing here. And I'm going to put, I just want to check where that channel will be. So probably 1 on his belly. And then I've got little guys, these mini dimensionals. And I'm going to put 1 of those. They're smaller, but they're the same height as the large dimensionals. So I can put 1 of those at the back. And I've still left that channel to feed that baker's twine through. So this will sit nice and flat. It's going to hide my seam of my baker's twine. And nobody will ever know how sneaky I was. And I didn't have to go through the headache of tying that baker's twine. Okay, so he's going to go right there. He's nice and flush with the card. I am going to then put the happy birthday in between, whoops, him and my bow. So I did with this, I used my minis and I put them just on either side because again, I want to leave that channel in here for that baker's twine to go down or go through. So these guys each go like this. And then we are going to get really technical here in a minute because you're going to have to cut some of the dimensionals in half to make them fit the candles. Okay, so birthday is going to go cattywampus that way. And happy is going to go cattywampus that way. Okay. Now for those candles, see the edge, and you've got edge on this one too. Actually, I see some edge, so it's going to be perfect for this. So the dimensionals are way too large. It doesn't matter if I was to cut it in half, it would still be too large. These guys, you could cut a half of one of these, but I want to make sure that my candle is secure, so I wanted dimensional all along the stick part of the candle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this part right here. Just between these 2 half large dimensionals, there's this little bit of straight line dimensional. So I'm going to pull that right off of there. And I use all my dimensional. You will never see me throw anything out. I cut up those ends and use them all through my projects. So the only thing that gets thrown away is that backing paper. Okay, so there's 1 candle. And yes, this is fussy to do. That's what we like. Oh, I thought I got the paper off. It's just hiding. Okay, so that's 1 candle. And I lost a candle. Where did my other candle go? There is candle number 2. Maybe. Okay, there's candle number 2. And I'm going to stick it going this way. And there it is. Candle number 3 gets that last piece there, and it's going to go over this way, and then I'm just going to use a couple of dimensionals on this puffin here, and we are going to pop him just down there at the bottom. So now you have 2 options for this card. You can either have the single puffin at the top or the double puffin. Okay, so that's card number 2. Now card number 3, let me just clean up a couple of things that I had stray pieces here. Card number 3 is going to be fairly quick because we just need to assemble it. We have all our pieces. Oh, we have to cut our happy birthday. Okay, so card number 3 is going to look like this. And you should have your card base. You should have a piece of white paper, which we're going to use first. Use this side. You should have 2 more patterns from our pattern party. And you're going to have your pieces that you've previously cut, the puffin, the cake, and the 2 goldfish. And we also have the happy birthday that we are going to stamp on this little piece of Pool Party, which you should already have cut, and you just need to stamp that guy down there. All right. Oops. Okay. So let me just dry mount this one about where I want it because I need to just figure that part out. Okay, and here again, I'm going to pull in, I don't think I need my silicone sheet for this one. I'm going to risk it. I may regret it, but I'm going to risk it. Okay, so on here, can I see my grid lines? Right there. Just because I have it handy, I'm going to, whoops. See, don't do that. Don't do what I just did. Don't snap your magnets together. Okay, I'm actually going to do the mermaid tail piece first. So I'm, again, switching it up a little bit from what I've done previously. I'm going to just put this one down, and I'm going to stick it down about 1/3 of the way up, so right about there. And I'm just following the lines on this grid paper to try and get it straight, because if it's not straight, it's going to drive me absolutely crazy. Okay, so then I'm going to do these diagonal stripes. I can't tell you which one of these 2 patterns are my favorite. I absolutely love both of them. I'm going to, again, try to get this one straight, and you are. So the first one that I laid down, oh, let's see, I'm crooked. Sorry, can't talk and place. Okay, the first one that I laid down is lined up with the edge of my paper, and then this one I went out about 1/2 inch or so from the edge of my paper and put that one down. So they aren't totally lined up. And then over that, I'm going to put my happy birthday. And I'm just going to use these 3 half dimensionals that I had previously, oh, I thought I cut this one apart, that I previously cut apart with my handles, because they're just perfect on here. And when I got too close to that side, can I pull it off? I can. All right, we'll reposition that way and move these towards the center. Whoops, almost put it upside down. All right, that one is going to go right about there. So then I have this staggered step effect with my papers at the end. All right, beyond that, my cake is going to go down flat. So I'm just going to use a little bit of Tombow on my cake, and it's just going to come out here. And the nice thing about this design is you've got the images that were stamped and cut out of white paper, and they're going on white paper. So any of your cutting flaws kind of disappear in that white paper. Okay, so beyond that, I'm going to put down my puffin, and he's going to go with about 3 or so dimensionals, maybe 2.5. His party hat's a little thin. Okay, so there's his 3 dimensionals, and he's going to go down right over here next to the cake. And I am also going to put on my 2 little, whoops, my two little goldfish, and they are going to go down with some mini dimensionals. And they are just going to kind of go down in whichever direction you want them to go. This one's going to poke up this way. And my original design for this card, actually, here's the original, used these super fun sequins. These are the artistry something sequences. But unfortunately, I couldn't get them in time for this particular class. So what I did is I swapped those out, and I used some on here, on this one. I used some rhinestones. I don't know, yeah, you can see the colors there. And all I did to get those beautiful colors on there is I used my blends. So I'm going to do one with the mango, and we used the mango on the candles, and we used the mango on his sorry, my computer went to sleep, that's taping us. I used the mango on his beak, and then I'm going to do one in Calypso Coral. And I'm going to do one, where did my blends go? In the Evening Evergreen that we have used on his hat, provided I can find it. Okay, so here's that one, and I'm just going to color that one with my blends. So there's something else that's fun that you can do with blends. And using my Take a Pick tool, which is lost on my desk, I'm just going to pick those up, and this is the card I'm working with right now. So I missed. There we go. That one's down. Whoops. My yellow one is down, and my Calypso Coral is also down. So now we have some fun colors on there. Just tuck that away there for the moment, and we can put this on our card back. And I'm going to do that with dimensionals. My other two samples have gone down flat, so, you know, just like with every other card I've done here, I've got to change it up today. So those guys are going to go down there. And I'm just going to peel all of these dimensionals off, or the backing off of all the dimensionals. I want the dimensionals to stay on the paper. And then I'm going to put this down on my card base. I might have gone a little high because my penguin, see, I knew I was going to do that. I was good until almost the end. My puffin, his party hat is right at the edge there, so I could have moved these guys down a little bit more, but that's okay. I should have dry mounted him to check. So there is this version of this card. And that wraps up the fun that we're going to have tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you are very pleased with the 3 cards that you have made tonight. So here's 3 versions I think that you would have. And I hope you had some fun with that today. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks and happy stamping!